Mr. Cedric Fu, Associate Professor Fatima Latif, and Mr. Seah Kian Peng, asked about coordination among government agencies and resource management in the public service. 2 years ago, I announced the formation of the PMO Strategy Group. Last year, PMO SG continued its work to strengthen whole-of-government planning and execution, supporting the Prime Minister and the 3 coordinating ministers to tackle long-term cross-cutting issues. As part of the consolidation and strengthening of the core center of government functions, we merged the National Population and Talent Division and the National Climate Change Secretariat into the Strategy Group. As Mr. Seah pointed out, there are cross-cutting issues which have longer-term impact, and population is certainly one of them. It frames the work of many ministries, covering areas such as the economy, healthcare, workforce, infrastructure, defense planning, as Mr. Seah correctly pointed out. Most importantly, we will also continue to strengthen the Singapore family with marriage and parenthood measures to support couples to own homes and have children. SMS Josephine Teo will update members on these plans later. Climate change is another cross-cutting issue with long-term implications that will be even more keenly felt by future generations. Coordinated actions by all countries are needed to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Singapore played a constructive and facilitative role in the Paris Agreement under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which came into force on the 4th of November 2016. Singapore is a party to the agreement and has pledged to reduce emissions intensity by 36% from 2005 levels by 2030 and stabilize our emissions with the aim of peaking around 2030. Mr. Kok Heng Loon asked how we intend to achieve this. We have identified 4 strategies in our climate action plan published last year. We will improve our energy efficiency, reduce our emissions from power generation, develop and deploy low-carbon technologies, and encourage collective action among all stakeholders. This plan is an example of whole-of-government inter-ministry working, which was coordinated by National Climate Change Secretariat, which is now in PMO SG. We evaluated every single option, what the cost was to the economy and to Singaporeans, and what effect it would have on mitigating carbon emissions. And then we lined them all up and chose those which were most efficient, made most sense for us. And the Minister for Finance has announced in the budget speech that government will aim to implement a carbon tax from 2019. This was one of the measures which will be efficient and encourage carbon mitigation. A carbon tax will incentivize businesses and consumers to reduce emissions, and this will complement the regulatory measures we have introduced and provide price certainty to industrial facilities for investments in clean energy and energy efficiency. The carbon tax revenue will not be earmarked for specific purposes to retain flexibility. In fact, Mr. Kok, the way that Mr. Kok described the carbon tax in British Columbia, it seemed to be the cure-all for all fiscal woes. If that's the case, indeed the case, I'm sure the Minister for Finance will be delighted. But no, we are not earmarking it for specific purposes to retain flexibility, but government funds will support measures such as enhancing energy efficiency incentives and training workers in energy management. These will help our companies use less energy, save costs, and reduce their emissions. Industry consultations on the carbon tax have already begun and will be expanded. And we will begin public consultations this month. The Ministry of Environment and Water Resources will have more to say about carbon tax, carbon emissions later on. Our companies, particularly those with an established track record in clean energy and energy efficiency, are in a good position to seize green growth opportunities in the region and beyond as countries, including Singapore, take steps to reduce carbon emissions. Second, driving innovation. Mr. Lee Shan highlighted that the public service needs to be innovative to position Singapore for the future. Our leaders in the public service set the tone for public officers to work together and pursue innovative solutions. The public service has embarked on a transformational journey over the past few years to become more innovative, work smarter through technology, deliver seamless services, connect with citizens, and build a future-ready workplace. But this is always a work in progress. We can always do better. We can always be more efficient. We can always be more responsive. To further these efforts, Prime Minister Lee has appointed Minister Ong Ye Kung to champion public service innovation. Minister Ong will focus on a number of key cross-cutting areas that require close coordination among agencies. For a start, this will cover two key areas. First, the review of regulations to better support innovation and entrepreneurship. Second, adopting procurement methods that support industry development and helping our companies and people seize new economic opportunities. These initiatives are in line with the recommendations of the Committee on the Future Economy. Minister Ong will also work with the public service on further areas to drive change and innovation. The CFE also highlighted the need to harness technology as a source of comparative advantage for our economy and to protect our national security. Digitization is creating new industries and transforming existing ones, such as finance, healthcare, and corporate services. Within the public service, we will continue to use technology to drive innovation, increase productivity, and transform and improve the way that we deliver services to the public. Currently, the responsibility for driving technology adoption in the public service is rather dispersed. We are studying how we can better integrate our strategy and processes. This push for a more integrated and technology-enabled government is crucial in our efforts to build a smart nation. I assure Mr. Lee that the public service will do its part to help Singapore stay competitive and respond quickly to the fast-changing global developments.